Thank you for being here, Senator Markey. My name is Judy Fox, and I live in Lenox. And I also wanted to thank you very much for all the concern and work that you've done in relationship to the environment and global warming. And in particular, I wanted to thank you for the bill that you helped draft in 2009 that was to cap carbon emissions that didn't pass in the Senate. So my question has to do with global warming. And given the political climate now where it isn't very pro-self-regulation, I wanted to ask you how to address carbon emissions, and in particular, what is the best way to pass a carbon tax?
Okay, good. So, by the way, Christina Warner is holding the microphone.
Yes.
Didn't she do a great job singing the Star Spangled Banner? Wasn't she great? Fantastic. She's like a walking, talking case for not zeroing out the National Endowment of the Arts and the National Endowment of the Humanities. Even as we're in this beautiful theater, we know that that makes no sense whatsoever. So thank you so much. In 2009, Henry Waxman and I, Congressman from California, we actually got a bill passed through the United States House of Representatives to reduce greenhouse gases by 80% by the year 2050. And it was going to be a revolution. But Mitch McConnell, he killed it in the Senate. John Kerry tried hard to get the 60 votes that were necessary. If we had lowered it to 51, then that would have already been the law. But I thank you for that. Actually, what President Obama did was he took the utility section of our bill, and that's called the Clean Power Plan, and that's the plan that Scott Pruitt and Donald Trump 2 weeks ago announced that they're going to kill the Clean Power Plan to reduce greenhouse gases from the utility sector by 32% across the whole country by the year 2030. Another law which I'm the author of is the 2007 Fuel Economy Standards Law. I had to work very hard. I used to bring it out to the floor every single year, make all the Republicans and Democrats from the auto states to vote on it. But finally, in 2007, it passed. And Nancy Pelosi and I stood over George Bush's shoulder while he signed this law, which Obama then used to increase by 2025 the fuel economy standard to 54.5 miles per gallon for vehicles in the United States of America. That's where Tesla comes from. That's where all of this revolution comes from, that law, because now the goal is so high. And what is Trump saying and Pruitt? They're now going to re-examine that law. And maybe it's too hard for the auto industry. Maybe they can't do it, you know? So it's all part of a pattern, in other words, along with now their reconsideration of whether or not the tax breaks for wind and solar should ever be extended or even stay on the books, because it's working too well, in other words. So in answer to your question about a carbon tax, in essence, we do have a carbon tax right now here in Massachusetts. We're part of something which is called the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which is the New England states, along with New York, and Maryland and Rhode Island, and there's going to be a new replacement for Chris Christie in 10 days in New Jersey, Bill Markey, and he's going to join the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, so we'll have New Jersey in, joining with what California and Oregon and Washington are doing. And so we've dramatically reduced our greenhouse gases in Massachusetts from the utility sector while having a dramatic increase in our GDP over the last 10 years since we joined. So what we have to do here in Massachusetts is to raise our goals even higher, to show that you can have 3.5% unemployment even as you reduce greenhouse gases as you move in a clean energy direction. So a lot of it's just going to be us, as we are on the Affordable Care Act, as we are on gay marriage, as we are on universal education, all the way down the line. We have to prove this as well. Join with the other states who share our goal, and then basically say to the world, no, look at all the mayors, look at all the governors, look at all the states, look at all the NGOs, look at all of the companies who are signing up saying, no, ignore Donald Trump, we are going to continue to move forward. And so that's what we should do, and like on so many other issues, Massachusetts just has to be in the cutting edge and number one. And that's what I try to do every day. I'm the chair of the Climate Clearinghouse for Democrats on the Senate side, and I have a guest that comes in every week, Gina McCarthy, or the head of Lawrence Livermore climate climate modeling program, or Ernie Moniz I just had in recently as well, our former Secretary of Energy. So I try to keep the flame alive, organizing our members so we're up and we're fighting. But again, the Koch brothers, this just goes back over here to Citizens United, the Koch brothers and these other big fossil fuel companies, they're taking full advantage of this unlimited amount of cash that can come into the system. But they're on the wrong side of history. Okay, we're going to win. And I do think that if we can just continue the momentum, and especially by 2020, if we do have 500,000 employees, they're going to be pretty mad if there's someone running for president saying, I don't care if you have a job, right? So a lot of it will be driven by the economics of the ever-lowering price of these, of electricity, of automobiles, of the other devices, and then when we turn the corner, it's just going to stop moving at the speed of light. The same way in 1993, I moved over the spectrum for new cell phones. Up until then, it was the size of a brick. It cost 50 cents a minute, and the millionaires amongst us had one. Okay? But after I moved over the 200 megahertz, everyone had a flip phone by 1996. They remember that first flip phone, they loved it. But then they didn't love it so much that even 10 years later, they didn't dump it for an iPhone. Okay? They just kept moving along. That's how quick everything. A kid today in America, he thinks it's a constitutional right to have a 50-inch HD interactive screen, right? Not one home had broadband in 1996, 20 years ago, right? That's where we're going to head on renewables. That's where we're going to head on all electric, plug-in hybrids. Already, you know, China is already saying they're going to dominate all electric vehicles. They'll make goals. Volvo's saying they're not going to make any more fossil fuel vehicles, right? So we're winning, okay? It's driven by the United States up until this point, but the momentum has now been created across our own country, the states and city level. In other words, the mayor of Salt Lake City is totally green. The mayor of Indianapolis is totally green. The mayor of Austin is totally green inside of red states. Right? So we have these kind of rebels, you know, who know the right side, and when we put it all together, we are going to win. But we have to be the leader. Massachusetts has to be number one. We're the most energy efficient state, okay, in America. We're fourth in solar energy, even though we're no more for the perfect storm than the perfectly sunny day, right? But we're still number 4 in solar, and that's just who we are and who we have to be.